So we're going to talk about, before we talk about the first strategy, my first question is for Claudia. Claudia, how long were you on MasterChef? Like, how long was the filming?
Well, first of all, I don't think I was prepared. I think before I left, so just so that you guys know, I actually used to work at IDEA. I used to work at an agency, and I was an events manager, and also did a lot of program work and stuff before that, but decided to go on this journey. And when I left, they pretty much said you're going to be there for either a week or up to 3.5 months. And so they kind of said pack accordingly, and it's like, how do you pack for a week or 3.5 months? Yeah, so I packed like if I was leaving for 3.5 months, and kind of just set my mind on that and never kind of looked back. But it was hard, obviously. I mean, imagine leaving your home with no ability to speak to your family except for once a week for 10 minutes. You have your phone taken away from you. Any kind of electronics are taken away from you. You can't, if you're sitting at a bar or at a restaurant, you can't ask people next to you to borrow their phones. You don't have a key to your hotel room. You are walked into your room and you are escorted anywhere you go. So it's kind of like being in jail a little. Or like boot camp, where you wake up every morning and you know that you're going to be yelled at.
Right.
By Gordon Ramsay in this case.
Got it. And so that brings me to my next question. Is he really that mean?
Everybody wants to ask that question. It's like the number one question. Yes and no. Yes, he really is that mean, but I think that it's definitely well-intentioned. I think that imagine you like your biggest mentor, right? Whether that be your parents. I know my parents were really hard on me. So for me, it's like he definitely came off as a parent who, for example, when I brought home B's, my mom would be like, yeah, I know you can do better. And then when I brought home an A+, she was like, I still know you can do better. And I'm like,
is your mom my mom? I mean.
So yeah, so, and he's very much that way. Like, he pushes you beyond what you think that you can achieve. And so it wasn't until I think when we were down to the top 5 where I suddenly clicked, and it was like, oh, so you don't want me to just cook you Mexican food. You want me to cook my version of an elevated Mexican food that doesn't even exist. So, I mean, and I know that sounds really crazy because you don't think it, but when you're there and all you can think about is food and you're getting yelled at and you're learning and you're practicing, and it's literally all you can focus on. You're OCD on food. That's literally where it took me, and I'm so grateful. I mean, so yes, he's mean, but I think he does it in the sense of being a mentor. At the end of the day, he has a brand to protect, right? He has this MasterChef thing where he's taking home cooks and elevating them to the level of an executive chef and beyond. And so I think that if somebody didn't rise to that level, it obviously wouldn't be reflective of who he is, and he demands perfection. In fact, he demands perfection when you practice. You don't just practice, you practice perfectly.
Dang.
Awesome. And so my next question before we jump into the first case study is, so when did you get that big check?
So this is the part that really sucks, right? So I think everybody thought cool, so you come back from the show and you're friggin' rich, right? And I'm like, no. So I left IDEA January 5th. I came home roughly at the end of March. I did not get my payment until October of 2015. So,
and that was because the winner was going to be announced in
September. So you have to wait because, of course, it's a way of them making sure that you don't tell anyone, right, and all of that. So you sign a huge contract that's 47 pages long, in case any of you are wondering. It covers from here until the universe, literally. It says that in the contract. And you pretty much sign over your life for 3 years after the show. But it tells you that you will not see a dime until after the show has aired, and they have made sure that none of the information was leaked.
Wow.
So.
All right. Well,
yeah.
After winning, it did present a lot of opportunities. And the first one that we're going to talk about is your partnership with T-Mobile.
Yes.
So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to cue this up and talk about this in detail.
So one of the great things about Claudia is because after she won MasterChef, she had these amazing sponsorships. And so one of them was T-Mobile. And it was something really cool, right? Because it was going to be T-Mobile Tuesdays.
Yes.
People had to download the app, and they had these amazing opportunities where they could go ahead and win the MasterChef cruise. They could get a tour of the kitchen.
Yeah, a tour of the MasterChef kitchen. They could win like a barbecue set or something like that. There was like a bunch of different things. So yeah, I think we listed them. So they could get a tour of the MasterChef kitchen, a MasterChef grilling barbecue set, and they could get a free copy download of Claudia's Cocina. So what happened was that T-Mobile said, we will guarantee like that we will try to get, like we will buy 100,000 copies of Claudia's book so that anyone could download it that had the app. And they said, we will buy 100,000 books. Anything that you can manage to download after that, we'll purchase in addition to. So the publisher and T-Mobile negotiated that. They got 100,000 copies or digital copies of my book or e-books. And so people were able to, on T-Mobile Tuesday, download it. So we had to create a campaign,
yes,
obviously to create awareness so that people could download the book, because obviously it's in my benefit if we get more downloads than 100,000.
Yes. And so the whole idea was that we were just going to put a Facebook post or a Twitter post to promote T-Mobile Tuesdays. Because you have someone with such an engaging personality, such as Claudia, it only made sense to take advantage of Facebook Live video. Now, this is when live video first came out. No one really kind of knew what they were doing, but we set out to go ahead and pretty much dominate that scene in terms of getting her seen. So what you're gonna see, Beth is gonna pull it up, but there's a link. We're gonna give you a little sneak peek of how her Facebook Live video went. And let me tell you, something to keep in mind is that we did this with my iPhone 6. Okay.
No, seriously. And that window in the back, we literally like duct taped like
we duct taped a sheet on
it because there was too much light coming in through the window.
So excited!
And this was not my kitchen.
So
it was my cousin's kitchen.
excited!
All right. So I'm gonna just start talking, and hopefully you guys come online. So hi guys, in case you don't know me, I'm Claudia Sandoval. I'm the most recent winner of season 6 of MasterChef. And I am doing this today because I was actually inspired by Mr. Ledger over at the CEO of T-Mobile, who is of course doing this incredible partnership with MasterChef right now for T-Mobile Tuesdays. And one of the really cool things that they're doing is that they are actually partnering to give away a ton of awesome giveaways. And the CEO does these really cool slow cooker Sundays. And I had actually adapted a birria recipe, which is like a spicy stewed beef. With like some delicious chilies, and unfortunately, Mr. Ledger actually had some.
So while we're getting it back, my question to both of you is: did you have like a huge posse to put this together?
No.
So who? Can you tell us about?
Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so when Claudia hit me up and she's like, "Hey, we need to go ahead and promote this T-Mobile thing. What are we going to do?" I was like, okay, cool, I could put your promotional strategy together, but then we need to have someone that's actually going to hold the camera, right? So Marie Tahan Daniels, who's her amazing PR, she's like, I'll hold the camera. Little did we know that the whole freaking thing was gonna be an hour long. Like, homegirl did not have a tripod, so she was just like, wait, you're gonna bake an entire tres leches cake? You know? And then Claudia's like, girl, you better hold that. And then your sister was in the background with cue cards, making sure that she like covered off on everything. And then
Seriously.
I was in the background. You guys, she had so many viewers jumping in. I think the peak live viewers you had, Claudia, was 843 people.
Wow.
Right? And these were the type of comments that we're getting. People were saying, you know what, I was doing my homework in Vietnam and I stopped because you came on board. And I was like, Claudia, you got someone from Vietnam. I don't even know if he knows what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it was so great to see the engagement from her fans just really jumping in. And
Yeah.
we would, like, the comments would come in so fast and we would have to like pitch it to you.
And respond right away. I
Yes.
mean, yeah, it definitely tried me. I think when I was trying to do the intro, I was trying to like cross off like all of the things that I had to say. And honestly, the reason why I kept going is because I couldn't remember the CEO of T-Mobile's name. And I was like, ooh, I was like, don't mess this up, don't mess this up. And I still messed it up. But you know, it was such a fun thing to do. And yeah, I mean, like literally my sister's never worked TV and she was like holding cue cards and I was looking at her like, switch the card. Switch the
Just
card.
like Marie, have the camera up here so you don't see your hand. She's like,
So switch the cord.
So let's talk about some of the results of this campaign.
Yeah, so 1.5 million people went into the actual T-Mobile Tuesdays app. And then as you can see, there were over 100,000 downloads of her book. So they initially got the 100,000,
Yes.
but then more just kept coming in.
Yeah, so the ultimate number was 178,543 books.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we achieved what we wanted, what we needed to do.
And the whole reason why we wanted to share this was because a lot of people, when they think about Facebook Live video, they think they need to have like a whole entire production crew. No, as long as you have an idea of what your desired outcome is, what your goal is, what your messaging is supposed to be, and you have a solid promotional strategy behind it, that's solid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, iPhone 6, no tripod. The hell with you, Amazon.
Yeah.
So yeah, T-Mobile came back and sent this awesome email. We can comfortably say that no other winner's cookbook has been such a great promotional effort. We're thrilled with the results and exposure for both you and the book and how successful the overall program performed. It literally blew everyone away how well we did with this campaign, and we were obviously over the moon when we started getting all of these numbers, so yeah.
And ever since then, you just started doing live video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here are a couple of the numbers, right? So 843 live viewers, 177,000 minutes viewed.
Yeah.
That's insane. 200,000 video views. We did have a partnership with T-Mobile where you do the little handshake thing because it is branded content. So they did put some paid media behind it, but it wasn't like a whole ton, right? Because if you look at the engagement, 10,000 engagements in terms of like comments, questions, and when you were promoting the T-Mobile app, people were like, where do I get the app? And I'm like, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Right? I was like I was like a little DJ on her comments. Like, got it.
And then we had some haters dropping in as well, so it was great. So she would be like, block, block.
you can't touch my home, girl. Like, block. You know, I felt like the bouncer. I was like little 5'4" me. I'm like, excuse me, block.
Yeah.
You're gonna do that tonight, like at the party, like block.
Block.
Really great campaign.
So moving on, Claudia, like
You already see that picture. It's not good.
you're a real person, and you're authentic, and you're completely transparent. How do you think that has helped your brand grow? Just your authentic.
I think that honestly, even back in the day when I was doing Instagram San Diego and just my personal account, I think that I've always tried to think of my brand as like just, and not really myself as a brand, but back then I didn't think of myself as a brand, but in Instagrammers, I always thought of social and who is following us and who is interacting with us as our community. So I always felt like there needed to be a sense of realness, right? I think that so many people that and I say we because I'm sure some of you follow, we follow all these celebrities and they're so far. They're just like this figure that we all like see, and they're like showing us all this amazing like clothes that they're buying and like this, let me show you my Bentley, and and like, you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
They're popping bottles left and right, and we all follow these people and we look up to them to some extent, but they're not tangible. And I think that whenever I was thinking about my brand, one of the things, and I guess I don't really think about it, and this is something that we've talked about specifically, but I don't really think about it. I don't think about myself as like, oh, I need to do this strategically. And I am innately like just the person that I want you to be able to come up to me. When my fans come up to me, or when my fans message me, oh, I saw you at this place, but I couldn't come up and say hi to you or come and ask you for a picture. I'm like, why? You've seen me on TV, I'm like the homie, we're good. Right? So like that's just who I am. Like I'm naturally like that. I will always be like that. And when people come up to me and they're like, oh my God, you're famous, I'm like, I'm just Claudia.
And so the reason why we have this slide up, because Claudia, something happened in your life where, you straight ugly cried on camera. We joke about this, but
no, she jokes about this.
I joke about this. But Beth, if you could pull up the video real quick.
Yeah. So we have a clip.
Yeah, and the whole reason why we want to show you this
Of course
is because,
we have a clip.
Of course, is because you want to have that relatableness to it. It should be on Safari, or there you go, you got it.
Oh boy. I apologize for the lack of makeup now. Good afternoon. I'm going to give some time to get people coming online because I wanted to share a story. So it looks like I've got some viewers. So I just wanted to say hi, good afternoon. I had something happen today, and many of you who follow me actually already know what happened. I'm in my house in Claudia's Cocina, sitting at my dining room table right now and drinking some coffee out of my favorite mug. But I wanted to share this specifically because I had something happen today that really shook me. And I'm gonna try not to cry, but I can't pretend like it didn't bother me. Ultimately, what happened was that my purse was stolen from my front yard, pretty much. I walked outside to take the trash out, and as I was taking the trash out, I decided that it was time to go, and so I had left my purse on my trunk of my car in my driveway, which is, by the way, about 14 feet into the driveway, and ran inside the house, called my daughter and was like, hurry up, let's go, we've got to go, pick up your bag. And when I said pick up your bag, like your backpack, I was like, and make sure that you grab my wallet from the back of the car. I didn't, because I asked my daughter to grab my wallet, I didn't even think about it. I thought it was in the car, and I drove her to school. And when I went to go to my sister's, because my sister called me this morning and asked me to come make her some soup because she's feeling sick, when I showed up to my sister's house, I couldn't find it. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Now, keep in mind that when I walk to my side of the car, I have to walk past the back of the car. So if it had been there, I would have seen it if my daughter had forgotten to. But the point is that the purse was stolen. When I talked to my daughter later on that morning, she confirmed that it wasn't back there, and she thought that I had grabbed it and I just forgot about it. And, like initially I was really angry, and, like my first response was to go to Facebook and Twitter and just post about how I hope they get like, a karmic holiday and how I really wish the worst on them. And I realized, after I was calling around and canceling cards, this person had filled up their gas tank at Chevron right down the street from my house twice in 15 minutes. And I was really upset. And I think that I was really upset because I was like wanting to blame somebody, right? Like it's just wanted to blame somebody and all of that. And I think when we're in those situations, or any situation that's beyond our control, it's really more of like an impotence, right? We feel a sense of impotence that we can't fix it. And I wanted to share this because I ended up taking a nap because I was so stressed, and I woke up, and the first call that I get, of course, is my mom, and she's an angel. And when I vented to her, she said, honey, you should be really glad, you should be really glad that they didn't come inside your house. You were alone with baby and your door was open, that it wasn't something bigger. It was something that you could cancel cards on, and it was just money that your friends or business or that you could make up. Those are all things that, that can come back. And she's right. And she's right. And then when I got to thinking about it, I was thinking, it is the holidays and people are struggling, and, maybe this person needed the money more than I did. And I just wanted to send you guys a message and share this story because, a lot of you think like, oh, it's Claudia for MasterChef. And, I think sometimes it becomes really easy to forget that we're all people. And I know that there are some of you out there, and this is why I'm sharing, because I know that there are some of you out there that are going through some hard shit right now, that are going through things that you're just like, man, this sucks. It's Christmas time. And I just want to remind you that we're all people and we're all in this together. And at the end of the day, no one is free from things happening to them and these crazy things happening. And sometimes, yes, they're out of our control. And do they suck? Yes. They suck. These things that happen, they suck, and they suck really bad, and we can be angry and pout and stomp our feet and cry. We can cry. But at the end of the day, I think that one of the things that we have to come away with after all of this is.
And so that was spur of the moment. I remember when that came up.
Yeah. So Claudia, my next question for you is, since becoming a celebrity, has anything changed with your personality or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Obviously, I just want to really quick address this. I obviously, when she says I ugly cried, I obviously very much ugly cried.
But I love you.
But it was me really honestly trying to share something that I felt like I had even grown from in that instance, and I really needed to share that at that moment, and I didn't want to put up the facade, right? I think originally when I won, I wanted to be this perfect person, and I would always tell people that, like, I'm like, oh, I can't walk out of the house without makeup. Because, no, seriously. because I would walk to Vaughn's, and then I would have people in the aisles taking pictures like this. And I would be like, I'm like in scrubs. Like, really? Like, I look so scrubby right now. Are you serious? And I started to get like really self-conscious, right? Like, oh God, I don't want people to see me like that. I want them to see me like this, right? Mm-hmm. Hair done, dress on, etc. And I think as I continue to grow through the whole celebrity thing, I realized that one of the things that really appeals to my fans is the ability to just connect with them and to be that normal person, right? A lot of them are like, dude, I'm a single mom too. I love the fact that you're like powering through. You're like super powerful woman, right? I've had single fathers come up to me and be like, dude, you inspired me. I've had Latinos, people from all ethnicities come up and be like, dude, you inspired me. And that is a sign of being able to connect with people beside the show, right? Like, and so I think that is really just kind of why I decided to just be fully transparent.
I love it. I love it.
So we're gonna switch gears. So we heard about Claudia's story. We saw some really cool examples, and now I'm gonna turn it over to Stephanie, where she. Do we want to cover this one?
Let's push this because I know that we got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. 10.
But so what you've heard is that Claudia, generally when she goes live, she always does it from her mobile device, and she's able to get an audience. But there are other platforms that you could absolutely use. So there's your mobile device. If you want to go live on your desktop, there's the Chrome browser. But I will say that the quality of the video does get a little grainy at that point.
Yeah.
There are third-party platforms out there. There's BeLive.tv, which you're probably very familiar with. It gives you the opportunity to do a split-screen interview, which is super cool. Ecamm Live is another tool that came out, and it's only $30. It's a one-time fee, and the reason why I say that is because there's the big competitor Wirecast, where you have to fork over $500. And here's the thing, if you don't think that you're actually gonna do live video for your brand or for your clients, use these other platforms right now, okay? The other one is Open Broadcaster Software and Zoom. So mobile, obviously, if you're gonna do it, get a tripod, learn from Marie.
You don't wanna hold a phone for an hour.
Yeah. Very true.
Trust me, her arms got real cut.
Yes. We had to buy her a lot of what was that drink? We had to buy her a lot of tequila, basically.
Let's go.
So learning from Claudia and being inspired from her, I actually use OBS. My take when it comes to live video is I actually turn it into a show. And so if you notice here, it's a little bit different. That's me going live in my desktop. I have a green screen behind me. I'm able to bring in my guest. And so I have the bottom thirds graphic. These are obviously things that you could do for your own clients as well. As a solopreneur, I don't have a big production team either. You don't have a big production team either, but we're still going out there and we're making connections with our audience, right? A lot of the things that people ask us is always well, what should I talk about? And Gary and I always bounce off of these ideas, and we call it the 10 by 10 formula. It's as simple as saying, what are the 10 top frequently asked questions that you get from your clients, but what should they really be asking you, right? So for me, it's how many times should I live stream? It's well, what type of topics do you really want to do? It's well, what type of platform should I be using? Well, it's well, what type of engagement do you want, right? Do you want to do the interviews? Do you want to do this? Do you want to have music going? All of that great stuff.
Agreed.
I love this part because every time Claudia goes live, I know that she is bumping her playlist. Like, you don't see it behind the scenes, but if you follow her on Instagram and Snapchat, she'll be like bumping Beyonce.
Always.
And I think it's one of those things that, like, before you jump on live video, you need to get in state. Like, you need to get pumped. Like, when we got up here, we were like, damn, yo, we gonna do this, right? We were gonna come up and you'd be like, live video.
Yeah.
No, we gotta bring the energy
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So if you're gonna do live video for your clients and you need to get them in state, like, yo, what's your song? Is it Rocky Balboa? Like, what's up?
Yeah, and I have to say, like, seriously, you guys, whenever I was on camera, I think one of the biggest things that I get feedback from, and a lot of people always say, is if you're gonna be on camera, bring the energy times 3 of what you think is high energy. So if you feel like you're being like, oh my God, like, oh, I'm so excited, like, that's usually like the level that you have to be at. Because on camera, you guys, it doesn't show up that way. If you feel like you're being like right now, right? If you guys think I'm high energy right now, like, that's boring on TV. You have to be like, you have to have inflection of voice, you have to do that. And if your playlist is what's gonna get you there, like, I'm like, Beyonce,
Flawless,
right?
girl.
Like, and you know, I need all of those things to kind of get me in that mode so that when that camera goes on, I'm like vivid and alive and people want to tune in and people feel like it's an invitation rather than an order. Because I think a lot of times I see, and I unfortunately see this even with some of the other people that I've worked with on the show, where they're trying to invite you to something. They'll be like, hey guys, come to my thing. And they're like zero facial
Sign
expression.
up for my newsletter.
Sign up for my newsletter. Do this, blah, blah, blah. And it sounds like an order versus an invitation.
Well, Stephanie talks about this. Didn't you say, Stephanie, words is like how much of the equation in communication, the actual words?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily about like what you're actually saying, but it's the energy that you give out. Like, people are gonna remember that. If I just go like, hey, download my newsletter. I'm like, nah, girl, you better go download my newsletter. Yeah, and you know, like, I put a little swag to it, but that's how we do it.
Yep.
So the promotional plan isn't really showing up, but what it really boils down to is on the far left-hand side is this is what you're gonna do beforehand, during, and after, okay? So the approach when it comes to actually doing Facebook Live, yes, you could do it spontaneously, but if you're gonna be doing this for a brand or a client, treat it as if it were an actual event. Create a Facebook event, let all your fans know, put some paid media behind it, and I always look over here because my paid media homegirls are over here. Invite your friends, invite your moms, invite your colleagues, all of that great stuff.
And don't ever think that inviting your friends or your colleagues is a bad idea. I've actually seen that some of like my friends or like my family members have like coworkers who are like huge, like super fans. I mean, I can't tell you how many times my dad's like reached out and said, hey, can you like sign off a book because this person's like husband or wife is like a super huge fan and they love you. Like, they pay attention to every single post, every single thing. They tell me where you are when I don't even know where you are. So yeah, don't ever think that that's a little too much. I mean, unless a family member says, please don't invite me, then don't.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's obviously, you know, important or fun, do it.
I think another missed opportunity that a lot of advertisers miss out on is that they don't create a scheduled broadcast for their Facebook Live. You could create a scheduled broadcast, which is basically your permalink. Once you create your event, drop that in there so people know that you have a scheduled broadcast. Share it into a Facebook group, share it on your social media channels. As soon as they click on that, they're gonna see the 3-minute countdown mark, and that's how you're instantly going to get views. That way you're not just kicking it there like, oh, is anybody gonna show up? No, because you're taking advantage of the fact that there's Facebook notifications in the event, there's Facebook notifications when they get the reminder, you're also leveraging all your different social media channels.
Agreed.
So one of the great things that Claudia does when she goes live is she says, hey, give me some likes, give me some hearts, share this, leave a comment, tell me where you're watching from, right? So once you start to get that engagement rolling, you take advantage of Facebook's algorithm and it starts searching for people to serve that content too, right? And then afterwards, definitely take advantage of doing captions because as we all know, sometimes you're scrolling through the news feed, you might not be listening, but if you hear someone say something funny or you're reading it, you're like, oh, let me push play, right? And you go from there. So turn it into a Facebook featured video, do a playlist, repurpose that content, all of that stuff. And yeah.
Cool. Round of applause for Stephanie and Claudia before we start into questions. Before we open it up.